When you are told that you're going to be given some feedback, so think about what your boss, he's saying, all right, we've got the end of year review coming up, December, November time. What time do you usually get your end of year reviews? Around November, December? All right, so it's around that time, your boss is calling you in to have that feedback conversation, or you've just finished a great project and your boss is like, let's have a little debrief on that conversation that we had. Or you send a proposal and you get an email coming back that's titled, My Thoughts on what you just read. How are you feeling right now? Give me some adjectives to describe what you would feel like. Emotional? Is this like an excited yay emotion? No, like a crap, okay, oh my god emotion. Okay, all right, emotional. What else have we got? Apprehensive, all right. What else?
Vulnerable.
Anxious, vulnerable. What else we got? Defensive? We're really going into this with open arms right now. Okay, defensive. You had someone else?
Frustrated.
Frustrated?
Oh, really?
I'm perfect. What, I mean, seriously, what could you say anything about this? All right, frustrated. Anything else?
Excited. Curious.
Oh, excited and curious. So the problem is, I'm with you guys. When somebody wants to give me feedback, I've got the same sort of gut reaction of, hold up, I'm perfect. How did you not see this? Why are you trying to change something? The issue is, if we go into a conversation feeling apprehensive, defensive, scared, emotional, we're not going to be actually listening to what that feedback is. We're not going to be open to what somebody's going to say to us. And think about that poor person trying to give you that advice. How do you think they're going to feel? Are they looking forward to this conversation? No. Are they going to want to give you feedback ever again? No. This has created a culture where we no longer have really great feedback in our society. We live in a culture where Facebook likes are all quite positive. There is no thumbs down on a Facebook post. You get lots of positive comments and likes when you go onto Instagram. Unless you have a troll out there, nobody's really saying anything negative about you on the internet, and everything you post is positive. So we're constantly getting positive feedback. Because we don't like negative feedback, people in business, it's become the model of no good news, or no news is good news. Yes? Sound familiar? Or the only kind of feedback you get is actually quite positive feedback, which really doesn't do anybody any good to just keep telling you how great you are and what you could, what you should be continuing to do because you're just perfect. So this has created a bad culture where we're really not open to discovering more about ourselves. What I want to try to convince you of today is the fact that feedback is actually a gift. I looked up the definition of a gift. Does anybody know the definition of a gift? It is something given freely without payment. Feedback is technically therefore a gift. You're not paying for this, people are giving it to you freely, sometimes unsolicited, but it still comes to you. So feedback is a gift, and it's a gift that helps you to really figure out who you are, all the things about you, what people think about you, what you could be doing, what you could improve upon. Great leaders, I've got Winston Churchill up here, great leaders seek feedback, they crave feedback, they live on feedback. Fun fact, he actually created an entire group of people within his government whose sole job was to tell him negative stuff. Did you know that? I thought that was quite interesting. Their entire job was to tell him when he was doing things wrong, or the negative side to his decisions, or when bad stuff was happening. And he did that so that he could go to bed feeling okay, feeling like he knew the whole side of the coin, and he could actually make an informed decision. So if Winston Churchill, who has a lot of power and could have just sat back saying, yeah, I'm the man, like, don't tell me anything negative, actually solicited and worked out for feedback, I mean, a lot of people want to criticize him. You guys can too. So feedback is a gift that helps you to do this, self-actualization. Self-actualization is the fulfillment of your potential. It's the realization of your dreams. It's becoming who you need to become. But you can only get there by figuring out things that you don't already know and being open to that criticism. Criticism doesn't have to be a negative, bad thing. So to help us get to self-actualization, I mean, how do we actually become self-actualizing? All the leaders in the world, they're great at this. People that are good at their jobs and their careers are great at this. How do you do it? There's a really great tool that I'm going to introduce you to. It's called the Johari window. In that nice green open area, that is everything that everyone knows about you. So You guys know that I love to talk because I'm standing up here talking, so it's quite obviously in the green area. What you might not know about me, hidden, is that I am very dyslexic. I spell incredibly badly, so whenever I have to write on a board during a training program, I write incredibly illegibly because I feel like bad handwriting is better than bad spelling, basically. That's everything you know about you, which is fine, but you need to also know things that you don't know about yourself. And that comes over here over to the right of not knowing. The fun thing is, as you follow these stars down, the unknown is that untapped potential. Do you guys know where your untapped potential is? In 5 years from now, do you know what you could be doing? The scary thing is, people don't always figure that out. There's so much untapped potential out there. There's so many dreams unfulfilled. There's so many abilities not realized because people don't ask for the feedback. They don't challenge themselves. They don't put themselves in a difficult situation. And to do that, you have to ask for feedback. So how can we change our opinion about feedback? If it's going to make you reach your goals, how can we now change what we think to be embracing of it, asking for it, thriving on it? The more feedback you get, the easier it becomes. Now women, I have some sad news for us. We are actually not very good at handling feedback compared to men. Why is this? Some people stipulate that if you think about a young girl's quite precious, isn't she? She runs around, people say, oh, she's so cute, oh, look at her hair, oh, what a cute little dress she's wearing. She can't do anything wrong. She's just loved and she's praised and she's told how wonderful she is. Now I know mothers out there, you might have a difference of opinion with your own daughters, but outside in public, like little girls are pretty much cherished. You then go to school and little girls continue to be quite cherished, whereas boys, do you know boys are 8 times more likely to get in trouble in school than girls? 8 times more likely to be criticized by teachers and parents than girls are. Not only that, but they banter with each other. They call each other names all the time. They make fun of each other. They put each other down throughout their entire childhood up until adulthood. They're still taking the mick out of each other. I was going to say something else there. But girls, we're quite sweet to each other. We say nice things. We don't talk behind your back, but to your face, we're kind of nice. And then when somebody says something that's not nice, what do? We panic. It's like, oh my gosh, she told me that I wasn't very nice the other day. What did I do wrong? How can I handle this? I'm a terrible person. I need a bottle of wine to get over this. I'm going to talk to my fiance until he's deaf and walks out the room for the next 2 weeks. And maybe eventually I'll forget about it and get over it. And then 2 months from now, I'm going to remember that comment and start panicking about it all over again. Does that sound familiar? Because we can't handle criticism. And if somebody says something negative to us, we panic and freak out about it. So the answer to that is get over it and get criticized more. The second thing I want to talk to you about is some work done by Carol Dweck called Growth Mindset. Has anybody read or heard of Carol Dweck's Growth Mindset? So there's 7 of you. Did you actually read the book?
No.
No. That's fine. So does anybody read books? Have you read books about self-help type books like this before? A couple of them? You know, occasionally you read a book that completely changes how you think about yourself. Like every couple of years, you might read one. I just read this book about 6 months ago, and this is the book that gave me that aha moment of, I never have to fail again in my life. It talks about child rearing, it talks about relationships, it talks about leadership, it talks about being a manager, and it talks about yourself and how you can get through your life. It is literally an all-rounded book on how never to fail in life and back. And there's 2 different ways of thinking. So I want you to think about when you feel smartest. When you really think, you know what, I've got this, I'm brilliant, I'm amazing. Is it when you do something that's quite easy, that you get, that you're like, wow, I can do this fast, I'm successful. Ooh, you don't know how to do this, but I know how to do this. I'm like, I can get this, I'm going really well, and it comes quite quickly and it's successful for you. Is that when you feel really smart? I'm seeing some nods.
No.
Okay. Do you feel really smart when it's incredibly challenging, you failed a few times, other people are getting it, maybe not you, but eventually you finally get it? Is that when you feel smart?
Yeah. You're achieving something out of the comfort zone.
Yes.
So I think that's better. Certainly for me, it's better.
Good, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. So there are two ways of thinking, and those are two different camps. One is a growth mindset, which is the idea that even if you fail, as long as you keep going, you'll eventually get there. The other one is called a fixed mindset, which means that basically you're who you are, and you can't really get anywhere further, but you're born with really great skills and you want to prove them. You're never going to be one mindset or the other all the time. So even if you think you're trying to hold on to that growth mindset, I want you to be aware of when you might slip into the more fixed way of thinking. So here are the two different ideas. That fixed mindset, personal traits, what you're born with is who you are. So you're born a certain way, you have certain characteristics, and you can't really change them. Unfortunately, society kind of pumps this up in us. Society tells us that this is really how life works. But even our parents will tell us things like, oh, she's so talented at sports, or she's so great at singing. They'll tell us things that we're just naturally talented at, but that means that we didn't, maybe we didn't put much effort into it because we're only 8 years old and I didn't really try very hard, but I'm really good at it. So if I'm really good at sports and I haven't put much effort in, can I really be an artist? Because that's maybe not my natural talent. So we grow up, unfortunately, society kind of bringing in this sort of fixed mindset mentality. That coupled with an environment where we don't like feedback feeds the continuous self-fixed mindset idea. Whereas a growth mindset basically says that you can't fail in life. The only time you fail is actually when you start to blame other people, when you stop taking the credit yourselves. That's when you fail, when you stop taking ownership of what you could be doing. So the growth mindset basically says everything can be learned and you can become whatever you want. This is what happens when we have that more growth mindset. We have a more can't-do attitude. Because if this is who I am, if this is what I'm born with, then it can't change. I can't become something more. We avoid challenges. Because if I'm doing good at what I'm doing now, then why would I try something new? I've already proven myself in this area. I don't want to become a failure and try to prove myself in another area. We give up easily, because if it's not easy, I obviously don't have that foreign trait, so why am I doing it? We fear failure, because failure means we weren't born that great. We weren't born with the traits and the abilities to compete with other people. My biggest one here, not open to feedback. Because if you give me bad feedback, that means that I'm inherently not very good. And that's the one that I want to squelch. And threatened by others' success. If you think about this, if you can do it, so can I. You're going to hear Tracy a little bit later. So Tracy can do it, so can you guys. That's sort of idea. On the other side is growth mindset. And the growth mindset is not this positive, can-do, overly optimistic idea. That's not what it is. Growth mindset is really a realistic, go get it, I can do this theory. But it's realistic. It's not overly happy and bubbly. It's actually something you can do. Knowing that you have to embrace challenges, you have to embrace feedback, you have to embrace negative opinions of you. You see effort as the path to getting there, to being successful. You find lessons and inspirations from other people. So these are the two mindsets that you got to work on trying to embrace. And why doing that, that's going to help you to be more open to feedback and to be accepting that kind of feedback in your lives. Interesting thing about feedback. We have brain waves up here. For those of you that said, yes, I have a growth mindset idea, that's great. I want you to hold on to that. Because the problem is when we have a fixed mindset, when you're given feedback, when you're actually given that feedback, there's a study done at Columbia University where growth mindset and fixed mindset people went and actually did some kind of task. When they were given feedback, the fixed mindset people that had failed the task, afterwards when they were told what they could have done better, so feedback, their brain waves stopped. Their brain actually stopped listening. That's kind of scary. Your brain just stopped listening to the things that could make you even better. Whereas growth mindset people, when they failed something and they were given feedback, their brains lit up even more to try to find out what it is they could be doing better and how they could improve themselves. So it is something we really have to work on, and even our brains even activate differently. So with feedback, this was my epiphany. The idea that failure is not the opposite of success, but it is actually part of success, is something we really have to do. So we got Michael Jordan over here, big basketball player in America, some would say the best basketball player of all time. Michael Jordan lost 26 game-winning points. So a game-winning point, he's got millions of people watching him all over America and the rest of the world. He's passed the ball by his teammates. The buzzer's about to go off, and he sets himself up to probably shoot that three-pointer or do that slam dunk, and he misses. Can you imagine the feeling of failure that most normal people would have at that situation? Can you imagine the Twitter feedback that's coming through, his coach's feedback, his teammates' feedback, all these things of telling him like what he did wrong and how he did it wrong and all these things that most of us would want to hear to? Michael Jordan turned around and in an interview once said he actually craved those moments in life because it proved to him that he still had more to learn, that he was still on the journey, that he still hadn't reached his goals, that he could still get better. And he would go back to the court and practice that shot over and over and over again. Michael Jordan was actually a terrible basketball player when he was a kid. He was cut from his first team that he ever tried out for. He wasn't going to make it as a basketball player. People didn't think he was very good. And then he grew up to be the best basketball player, in my opinion, of all time. So failure is part of success. So what I want to leave you with is a quote. Exceptional individuals have a special talent for identifying their own strengths and weaknesses. Their own strengths and weaknesses. So when it comes to feedback, I am not saying you have to accept all feedback. I'm saying you need to find out who you are. Go back to that Tahori window, find out your strengths and your weaknesses. Perfect those strengths. Work on those strengths because you'll be exceptional if you work on those strengths. Try to minimize your weaknesses. But if someone starts calling you an asshole, you don't have to listen to it. You don't. If somebody's calling you names or telling you things like that, you don't have to listen to that. What do you think you do have to listen to? Why they're calling you the asshole. Listen to that. Then listen to it and decide yourself. Do I want to believe that? Do I want to take that on board? Is that something I really care about? But be honest with yourself. And if it's not, then you can let the feedback go by. So my challenge for you guys moving forward is to go out, embrace feedback, look for it, have a positive mindset towards it, and realize that feedback is the path to success. It does not mean that you are a failure at the moment. Thanks, guys.